Chapter 23. The Flying Serpent. With tears in my eyes, it rips my heart out to have to speak of things that should not be spoken of, because it is like casting pearls before swine. But this poor suffering humanity needs it, and though I find myself in distress, I must say something about the flying serpent, the serpent bird. In the Popol Vuh of the Mayans, the bird and the serpent are featured as the sexual creators of the universe. Tepu and Gukumat sent a sparrow hawk to the immense ocean of great life to bring back the serpent, whose marvelous blood they kneaded with yellow and white maize. The Popol Vuh states that the god Zakel formed the flesh of people with this dough of white and yellow maize mixed with the blood of the serpent. The bird represents the universal spirit of life. The serpent represents the sexual fire of the third logos. The blood of the serpent represents the waters of Genesis, the great universal sperm, the ens seminis or Christonic semen, in the waters of which is the seed of all life. These waters are the blood of the earth according to the Mayan philosopher. The goddess Coatlicue is the mother of life and death, the ens seminis. Truly, the sexual fire of the third logos makes the waters of life fertile in order for the universe to emerge. In the Mayan theogony, two gods intervened in creation, one who gives life and form to man, and the other who gives him consciousness. The third logos makes the waters of life fertile, and when they have been fertilized, the second logos intervenes, infusing consciousness into every organism. The ineffable gods are the vehicles of action for all the logoic forces. The sparrowhawk, Chui, the macaw, Mo, the kestrel, Sense and Back, the tapir, Seamink axe, and the serpent, Can, are the basic components of the Mayan geogenic myths. These symbols are used exoterically and esoterically. In the exoteric or public field, they symbolize tribal facts, historical incidents, etc. In the esoteric or secret aspect, this matter is highly scientific, profoundly philosophical, sublimely artistic, and tremendously religious. Among the Maya, the terrestrial paradise is Tamoanchan, the sacred place of the serpent bird. Tamoanchans are, in fact, initiates of the serpent. The myth of the Tamoanchans is the myth of the serpent bird. The Tamoanchans are descended from the Toltec, Olmec, and Maya. The Aztecs, after much hardship, reached the lake of Texcoco, symbol of Christonic semen, where they found the bird and the serpent, the eagle and the snake. The Aztecs are the ones who have the high honor of having founded the great Tenochtitlan, based on the wisdom of the serpent. The feathered serpent clearly represents the serpent bird. The feathered serpent was identified with Quetzalcoatl, the Mexican Christ. Quetzalcoatl is always accompanied by the sacred symbols of the eagle and serpent. The feathered serpent says everything. The eagle of the spirit and the serpent of fire transform us into gods. The Quetzal of the Mayans is the feathered serpent, the serpent bird. The caduceus of Mercury. The caduceus of Mercury symbolizes the spinal medulla with its two serpents representing the channels of Ida and Pingala through which solar and lunar atoms ascend to the brain. These are the musical sharps and flats of the great Fa, which resounds in all creation. Akasha ascends like flaming fire through the medullary canal, and its two poles of energy flow through Ida and Pingala. From the medullary canal and its two channels, which are entwined like serpents around the spine, a circulation begins, departing from the central duct to then be distributed throughout the whole organism. Ida and Pingala depart from the sexual organs. Ida is to the left of the medullary canal and Pingala to the right. In women, this order is reversed. The channels terminate in the medulla oblongata. This pair of cords are semi-etheric, semi-physical, and correspond to the superior dimensions of space. The igneous wings. When the solar and lunar atoms unite at the base of the spinal column, the igneous serpent of our magical powers awakens. The serpent ascends slowly amidst the ineffable delights of the perfect matrimony. The serpent enjoys the enchantment of love. When the serpent reaches the height of the heart, we receive the igneous wings, the wings of the caduceus of Mercury. Then, the serpent has feathers. This is the Quetzal, the serpent bird, the feathered serpent. Every initiate who transforms himself into the serpent bird can fly to the superior worlds. He can enter the different regions of the kingdom, travel in the astral body at will, travel with the super-astral vehicles, travel with his physical body within the fourth dimension. He is a serpent bird. The serpent bird can escape from a sealed tomb, can walk upon the waters, as was demonstrated by Jesus the Christ, can pass through a rock from one side to the other without being harmed at all, as was proven by Buddha's disciples, can fly with his physical body through the air, etc. Far on. Ida is feminine and Pingala is masculine. Here are the sharps and flats of the great Fa, which resounds in nature. Fa corresponds to solar atoms, Ra to lunar atoms, onto the flaming fire that ascends through the central canal. It is necessary to learn how to sound these sharps and flats with the powerful mantra Fa-Ra-On in order to travel in the astral body consciously and positively. With the mantra of these sharps and flats, we can travel in the astral body. In Egypt, when the initiate received the igneous wings, he was decorated in the temple with a pair of wings fixed to his tunic at heart level. When Jesus of Nazareth spread his igneous wings, he was personally decorated by the Pharaoh of Egypt. The position in which Jesus lay down to travel in the astral was like that of Chukmul, but with the head very low and without pillows, the soles of the feet upon the bed, the legs bent, and the knees raised. In this way, the great Hierophant would fall asleep playing on his marvelous lyre, the spine. The complete mantra Fa-Ra-On is divided into 3 syllables as follows: Fa-Ra-On. The Fa is that of the musical scale. The Ra is a deep sound. It must be vocalized with a rolling R. On reminds us of the mantra Om of India, only in this case instead of having the consonant M, it has the consonant N, on. In general, we can give the mantra Fa-Ra-On all the intonation that resounds in the whole of creation with the great Fa. We advise you to vocalize mentally. The disciple must fall asleep singing this mantra with the imagination and willpower concentrated upon the pyramids of Egypt. It requires practice and much patience. The flying serpent. White magicians and black magicians use the flying serpent to travel in the astral body, or with the physical body in the jinn state. In profound meditation, white magicians know how to pray and to supplicate the bronze serpent to be transported to any place on earth or in the cosmos, and the flying serpent transports them. Black magicians pray to the tempting serpent of Eden, and it takes them to the abyss, or to the halls of witchcraft, or to the witch's Sabbath, etc. The bronze serpent rises through the medullary canal. The tempting serpent descends from the coccyx down toward the atomic infernos of nature. This is Satan's tail. Devils have their power in the tail. Blessed be the divine Mother Kundalini. Blessed be those who fly with the power of the adorable Mother. Wretched be they who move with the power of Santa Maria, the tempting serpent of Eden, the descending Kundalini. Unhappy are those who fly with the tenebrous power of Santa Maria. The abyss and the second death are for them. The jinn state. A point is a cross-section of a line. A line is a cross-section of a plane. A plane is a cross-section of a body. A body is the cross-section of a tetradimensional body, that is to say, of 4 dimensions. Each body is tetradimensional, it has 4 dimensions. The 4th coordinate or 4th vertical is the basic foundation of all mechanics. Intermolecular space corresponds to the 4th dimension. In this 3-dimensional world of length, width, and height we never see a complete body. We only see sides, planes, angles, etc. Therefore, perception is incomplete and subjective. In the 4th dimension, perception is objective. There we see bodies from the front, from the back, from above, from below, from within, from without, that is to say, completely. In the 4th dimension, all objects simultaneously appear complete. There, perception is objective. With the power of the flying serpent, we can take the physical body out of the world of 3 dimensions and pass it into the 4th dimension. In more advanced states, we can take the physical body to the 5th or 6th dimension. Serpents that fly. When we visited the department of Magdalena in the Republic of Colombia, we were surprised to discover flying serpents. In the jungles of this region, there are sorcerers who know how to send flying serpents to their hated victims. The procedures used by these sorcerers are very uncommon. Generally, these types of sorcerers are dedicated to the practice of curing victims of venomous snake bites, which is so common in the tropics. There are many sorcerers who heal people bitten by snakes. Also, there is much competition in the craft, and the mysterious war between these sorcerers is tremendous. They live at war because of matters of their craft. Witch doctors usually use the 4th dimension to teletransport certain types of artificial serpents to the residence of their enemies. The procedure is simple and marvelous at the same time. The element the witch doctor utilizes to make the serpents is plant fiber from the exterior bark of the trunk of the plantain tree or banana plant. This fiber, when made into a small cord about 1 to 2 meters in length, becomes an artificial snake. The witch doctor makes 7 knots in the plant fiber of this trunk to symbolize the 7 churches of the snake, and then he walks about reciting his secret magical prayers. The final climax of the magical operation is the instant in which the sorcerer, full of frenzy, flings the plant fiber into space. It is transformed into a serpent upon entering the 4th dimension. The worst thing is that this flying serpent falls back into the 3rd dimension, but inside the distant home of the hated enemy. Usually, the person is a competitor in the craft. If the victim has his body well prepared, clearly the serpent can do no harm to it. But if the victim's body is not prepared, the serpent will bite right into the heart of the victim, and he will immediately be struck dead. Normally, the witch doctors prepare their body with special herbs to defend themselves against their enemies. The plant fiber they use for those criminal acts is known by the indigenous name of Mahagua de Platano. There is no doubt these sorcerers use the power of the tempting serpent of Eden, the snake that descends, to commit these criminal acts. If those sorcerers can do remarkable things such as transforming plant fiber into a flying serpent, how much more can a white magician do with his flying serpent? The flying serpent of the white magician is the Kundalini. The white magician is really the serpent bird, the serpent who flies. The 7 centers of the snake are omnipotent. The serpent with wings is something formidable. With the power of the serpent bird, the magician can become invisible at will, can transport himself through the air within the 4th dimension, appearing and disappearing before astonished people. He can unleash thunder and hurricanes, calm tempests, resurrect the dead, transmute lead into gold, cure the sick by the laying on of hands, raise himself from the tomb on the 3rd day, and conserve his body for millions of years. The serpent bird is immortal, omnipotent, wise, amorous, and terribly divine. Guardians of the mystery temples are serpents of fire. With the power of the serpent bird, we can transport ourselves to other planets of the infinite. The doubles. In all our books, we have taught different systems to travel in the astral body. Many people have learned to travel, and many have not learned. Some have read a key from our books, have understood it, put it into practice, and have then immediately learned how to travel in the astral body. Many others have practiced with one system or another without having obtained anything. In practice, we have been able to prove that people who are very intellectual, full of bookish culture, the library bookworms, do not manage to travel at will in the astral body. On the other hand, people who are very simple, humble peasants, poor servants of families, can do so wonderfully. This has made us think a great deal about the matter, and we have carefully investigated the problem. The fact is that travel in the astral body is not something intellectual. Rather, astral travel corresponds more to sentiment and to superior emotion. These qualities are related to the heart, and not to the brain. The intellectual polarizes himself in the brain in an exaggerated fashion and, in fact, abandons the world of the heart. The result of his lack of equilibrium is loss of the psychic powers of the soul. Unfortunately, one faculty cannot be acquired without the loss of another. Whoever develops the intellect does it at the expense of the psychic faculties. This problem is serious because we can in no way approve of ignorance and illiteracy. It is logical that an intellectual culture is necessary. Ignorance leads to very serious errors. An illiterate and ignorant occultist can become a mythomaniac or slanderer, and in the worst cases, an assassin. In the astral world, we find the perverse doubles of saintly people. Opposite the angel Anael is his perverse double, the terrible demon Lilith. Opposite Elohim Geber is the terrible demon Andromelech. Opposite every good citizen is a citizen of evil. The worst of this matter is that the appearance of the double is exactly the same as the model of light. If an adept teaches white magic, his double, the black adept, besides having similar physiognomy, manners, posture, etc., teaches black magic. This is very serious because the ignorant occultist can very easily confuse one thing for another and, in fact, become a slanderer of good people, and we repeat, even an assassin. If an ignorant occultist finds his wife in the astral world, cohabiting with one of his friends, and if he is unfortunately a schizophrenic or neurasthenic, he can assassinate his friend and his wife. His ignorance won't allow him to comprehend that what he saw was a pair of doubles cohabiting, or an act from a past reincarnation, etc. Somebody who is jealous and supposes his wife is unfaithful with some known or unknown person can then project his thought forms and see them in the astral world. If the subject is a neurasthenic or an ignorant schizophrenic, but knows how to travel in the astral body, he can take everything he saw seriously and then commit murder, confused by his jealousy and visions. Because he is ignorant, he does not comprehend he has seen his own mental forms projected unconsciously. All this leads us to the conclusion that intellectual culture is necessary. Now the interesting thing is to know how to reconquer the lost psychic faculties. A man with a brilliant, illuminated intellect and all his psychic faculties in full activity is really, in fact and by his own right, a true illuminated one. The occultist needs to establish perfect equilibrium between mind and heart. When the mind has become excessively frozen in the brain, traveling at will in the astral body becomes completely impossible because there is imbalance. So, it is urgent that intellectual occultists re-establish equilibrium between mind and heart. Fortunately, there is a technique to re-establish the lost equilibrium. This technique is inner meditation. For those intellectuals who write to us alleging that they have not been able to travel in the astral body with the clues we have taught, we prescribe a good daily dose of inner meditation. It is urgent that they drink the wine of meditation from the cup of perfect concentration. The Karda. The Karda is the magnetic center of the heart. This center is marvelously described in verses 22 to 27 of the Sat Chakra Nirupana. Let us see. The heart lotus is of the color of the banduka flower, red, and on its 12 petals are the letters Ka to Thar, with the bindu over them, of the color of vermilion. In its pericarp is the hexagonal Vayu Mandala, of a smoky color, and above it Surya Mandala with the Trikona lustrous as 10 million flashes of lightning within it. Above it the Vayu Bija, of a smoky hue, is seated on a black antelope, four-armed, and carrying the goad Ankusha. In his, Vayu Bija's, lap is three-eyed Isha. Like Hamsaba, his two arms are extended in the gestures of granting boons and dispelling fear. In the pericarp of this lotus, seated on a red lotus, is the Shakti Kakini. She is four-armed, and carries the noose, Pasha, the skull, Kapala, and makes the boon, Vara, and fear-dispelling, Abhaya signs. She is of a golden hue, is dressed in yellow raiment, and wears every variety of jewels, and a garland of bones. Her heart is softened by nectar. In the middle of the Trikona is Shiva in the form of Vanalinga with the crescent moon and Bindu on his head. He is of a golden color. He looks joyous with a rush of desire. Below him is the Jivatma like Hamsa. It is like the steady tapering flame of a lamp. Below the pericarp of this lotus is the red lotus of 8 petals, with its head upturned. It is in this red lotus that there are the Kulpa tree, the jeweled altar surmounted by an awning, and decorated by flags and the like, which is the place of mental worship. The Hindu description of this chakra is marvelous. It mentions the number of its petals, the principle of air, Vayu, Shiva, the sexual force with its lingam, and the crescent moon, etc., etc., showing the heart as the altar of mental worship, the marvelous center of meditation. Many volumes could be written upon this transcribed Hindu paragraph. The Karda is the magnetic center related to astral travel. Whoever wants to conquer the power of traveling in their astral body at will should totally change his type of vibration. This is only possible by developing the Karda. Astral travel is rather emotional and sentimental. The cold intellect has nothing to do with travel in the astral body. The brain is lunar. The heart is solar. To travel at will in the astral body, one needs superior emotion, a certain type of emotionality, sentiment, a very special supersensibility, and sleepiness combined with meditation. These qualities are only achieved with the development of the Karda. The Shiva Samhita, speaking about the Karda, says, the yogi acquires immeasurable knowledge, knows the past, present, and future, acquires clairaudience, clairvoyance, and can travel the airs wherever he pleases. He sees the adepts and the yogini goddesses, obtains the faculty called Kachari, and triumphs over the creatures that move in the air. Whosoever meditates daily on the hidden Banalinga undoubtedly attains the psychic powers called Kachari, moving in the air, in the astral body, or also the power of placing the body in the jinn state, and Bashari, going at will all over the world. Practice. The devotee should concentrate on his heart, imagining thunder and lightning there, billowing clouds lost in the twilight, driven by strong hurricanes. The Gnostic should imagine many eagles flying in that infinite space, which is within, very deep within his heart. Imagine profound forests of nature full of sun and life, singing birds, and the sweet and gentle chirping of the crickets of the forest. The disciples should fall asleep imagining all this. Imagine now that in the forest there is a golden throne on which the goddess Kakini, a very divine woman, sits. The Gnostic should fall asleep meditating on all this, imagining all this. Practice for 1 hour daily. If you practice 2 or 3 or more hours daily, even better. You can practice seated in a comfortable armchair, or lying down on the floor, or on your bed with your arms and legs open to the right and left in the form of a 5-pointed star. Sleepiness should be combined with meditation. You must have a lot of patience. With infinite patience, these marvelous faculties of the Karda are obtained. It is best that those who are impatient, those who want it all quickly, those who do not know how to persevere throughout life, withdraw because they are not good for this. Powers are not obtained by playing around. Everything has a price. Nothing is given to us for free. The temple of the serpent bird. The heart is the temple of the serpent bird. It is necessary to know how to love. The serpent bird officiates in the temple of the tranquil heart. It is urgent to be devoured by the serpent. Whoever is devoured by the serpent becomes, in fact, a serpent bird. Only with sexual magic and the heart's love is the serpent, which will later devour us, awakened. When the serpent reaches heart level, the igneous wings are received. Then one is transformed into a serpent bird. It is urgent to know how to lead a married life. Fights between husband and wife are of Satan. He fights against the serpent bird. He wants to damage the great work. It is necessary to comprehend the necessity of tolerating the defects of our husband or wife because no one is perfect. The work in the flaming forge of Vulcan is more valuable than all the defects of our spouse. It is stupid to throw away all the work to give Satan his pleasure. The temple of the feathered serpent is in the heart, and we must not profane it by sinning against love. The path of perfect matrimony is wisdom and love. We must love consciously. We must love our worst enemies, returning good for bad. In this way, by knowing how to love, we prepare ourselves for the festival of the tranquil heart. In his emerald tablet, Hermes Trismegistus said, "I give you love in which is found the whole summum of wisdom." Another type of fearmonger. There are many pseudo-occultists and pseudo-esotericists who spread fearmongering rumors against the voluntary travel in the astral body. It is false and harmful to the great work of the Father to make people fearful of traveling in the astral body. Indeed, traveling in the astral body is not dangerous because every human being travels in the astral body during the hours of normal sleep. Unfortunately, people go around in their astral body with their consciousness asleep. People do not know how to travel in their astral bodies at will. There is no danger whatsoever in becoming conscious of one's own natural functions, which are eating, drinking, marrying, and traveling in the astral body. All these functions are completely natural. If traveling in the astral body were as dangerous as the fearmongers state, by now there would be no one living on earth because everyone travels in the astral body, and still worse, they do so with their consciousness asleep. Nevertheless, nothing happens. And so, at this moment, the planet Mercury is coming out of a cosmic night. As it leaves its state of repose, the hierarchies of this planet will become more and more active. The lords of Mercury propose to teach the inhabitants of Earth, in a practical way, the art of entering and leaving the physical body at will. In the future, all humans must consciously travel in the astral body. This then is a law of nature, a cosmic commandment, and everything opposed to this law is a crime. Indeed, those who spread this kind of fear are unconsciously acting as black magicians when they propagate this special type of fear. The special objective of the universal spirit of life is to become conscious of itself in all the dimensions of space. In principle, the universal spirit of life is unknown to itself. It is happy, but it does not have consciousness of its own happiness. Happiness without consciousness of oneself is not happiness. The universal spirit of life descends into matter to become conscious of itself. The great reality emerges from its own bosom in the dawn of the whole universe, and contemplates itself in the living mirror of nature. That is how it comes to know itself. In this way, a vibratory mental activity is created through which the great reality contemplates its infinite images on the cosmic stage. This activity, moving from the periphery to the center, is called universal mind. We all live submerged in the infinite ocean of the universal mind. The intellectual activity of the universal mind emanates from a centripetal force. Every action is followed by a reaction. The centripetal force, on finding its resistance in the center, logically reacts, and creates a centrifugal activity called cosmic soul. This vibratory soul becomes a mediator between the center and the periphery, between the universal spirit of life and matter, between the great reality and its cosmic images. The great master Paracelsus stated, "The soul is the product of the centrifugal action of universal activity, impelled by the centripetal action of the imagination of the universe." In this day and age, the human being has only an embryo of a soul within his astral ghost, but this embryo must be strengthened and self-awakened. The awakening of cosmic consciousness within man is the most grandiose event in the universe. In these moments, the Great White Lodge is intensely occupied with the awakening of human consciousness. The adepts struggle intensely to teach the human being to travel at will in the astral body. They want people to awaken. Therefore, All that goes against this great law is a crime. The whole objective of the descent of spirit into matter is to create soul, and to become self-conscious. When we direct mental power towards the interior of our own intimate center, the resistance we will find internally will cause a reaction, and the more vigorous the centripetal force we apply, the more vigorous will be the resulting centrifugal force. Thus, we fabricate soul. Thus, we invigorate the embryo of the soul, and finally one day, once we have been born as serpent birds, we will completely absorb and assimilate the totality of soul within our astral body. The awakening of consciousness is urgent. Whoever learns to travel in the astral body at will can study at the feet of the great masters of wisdom. In the astral world we find our guru who will instruct us in the great mysteries. We need to abandon fear to have the joy of visiting the lands of paradise. We need to abandon fear to have the joy of entering the temples of the land of the golden light. There we will sit at the feet of the great masters of the White Lodge. There we will gain strength for the difficult path. It is necessary that we strengthen ourselves on the path, to take a rest and receive direct instruction from the lips of our guru. He, as a loving father, always waits for us in the astral body to console us. The adepts are true flying serpents.